Good morning everyone, welcome back to another video. It is currently about 6:45 in the morning right now, and I wanted to come out early today and do a little bit of gardening in the cottage garden here behind me. It's going to be a pretty warm day today, so I wanted to start early, just do a few jobs, maybe kind of carry this video on for a few days. I'm not too sure how long it's going to take, but I really want to tidy up this cottage garden behind me, clean up some of the weeds, get the beds prepped, and just do a general tidy up, I suppose. There's so many plants that are going to seed that need deadheading, so I really need to dedicate some time in here. So I thought I would bring you along for a garden with me style video where I'm just going to do some pottering around in this cottage garden. This was all once grass, and we created no-dig beds to kind of create a little bit of a wild and biodiverse cottage garden right next to the house, where we can grow food and flowers and just enjoy watching all of the birds from inside. I really love this space, but I would love it even more if it was a little bit more tidy and I can actually plant more plants in here. So that's what we're going to do today. I really hope you enjoy this video. I'm going to probably pop a voiceover to talk about what I'm doing, just so that I can get these jobs done this morning. But if you do enjoy these garden with me videos, then make sure to give this video a like and subscribe for lots more gardening and flower farming content. The first of the jobs that I'm getting done this morning is to deadhead the roses. This is something that I'm actually doing every few days just to keep on top of all of the beautiful blooms that we've been having from the roses. I have 3 rose plants planted in the cottage garden. They're all David Austin roses. This one here, this beautiful pinky apricot rose, is called Grace, and it's one of my favorites. It is so beautiful. The blooms are probably my favorite color, I would say, and I just love how full and ruffled the petals look. But to deadhead, I'm just looking at all of the spent flowers and just giving them a little bit of a trim. You can cut further back down into the stem to kind of create a little bit more branching, but I'm just focusing on cutting all of the spent blooms just to encourage more flowers. It's really important to continue to deadhead your roses so that you do have more flowers and that the plant doesn't think that it's going to start to go to seed and start to slow down in overall flower production. Obviously, if you're growing roses for rose hips, you'll want to keep all of these spent flowers and let the plant naturally produce rose hips. But for these ornamental roses here, I am just growing them for their beautiful blooms. Next, I'm moving over to this smaller rose that I have here. This is also a David Austin rose called Jubilee Celebration. It's a beautiful soft pink color, and I'm just tidying up some of the plants that are growing around it just to give it a little bit more space. I have California poppies pretty much self-seeding themselves all throughout the garden, so I'm removing that and then just removing any of the spent flowers on this one. This rose here is called Litchfield Angel, and it has beautiful creamy white flowers, but this plant was just growing in a way that I really wasn't a fan. It's not the perfect time to prune roses, I must say. It's definitely best to do this more so in the cooler months or once the plant has completely finished its spring flowering. but this was just getting a little unruly and I was wanting the plant to grow up a little bit more rather than those side shoots that you could see were just growing straight up and not the shape that I really wanted it. After that, I'm just cleaning up all of the weeds and grasses and the leftover stock flowers that were in this bed. These were just miniature stocks. They only grew to about 20 centimeters or so, and they have finished flowering now, so I'm removing these and I'll eventually plant something else in this bed for the summer months. I've really let this garden go a bit, and for a while I was kind of dreading doing this job and coming out and giving the garden a good weed, but I've just chosen a few days this week just to have a few hours of work, and to be honest, it has made such a big difference. This really didn't take that long to get a few hours of weeding done in the morning. So if you're putting off a job in the garden, let this be a gentle encouragement to get out there and do those jobs. Even if it's like 10 minutes a day, you can really do a lot in that time in the garden. Next, I'm moving over to this quarter of my cottage garden, and this is probably the worst section, and I work on this garden over a few days, but for now I'm just removing some of the pincushion flowers that have self-seeded. Again, you've got some more poppies in there, calendula everywhere, and just giving it a good tidy. You'll see a lot of the garden scraps. I'm just placing these in the pathway, and this is what I usually do, and you'll see throughout the whole video. Basically, I do compost some of the garden waste, but a lot of it ends up just going back into the pathways, and that slowly breaks down, feeds the worms. It helps to retain moisture within those pathways and does allow those worms to have some food and move in and out of the garden beds to the pathways as they please, just to have a little bit more food and really just save some time and space. Really, I have multiple composts that are on the go, but sometimes it is just as easy as chopping up the garden waste, placing it in the pathway, and you know, at the start it looks a little bit messy, but over a few days it'll start to decompose. I walk on it all the time, so it's breaking down and it ends up just looking like mulch. So it's a win-win situation. And then I ended up coming across this little frog here. This is an eastern dwarf tree frog, and it lives in this garden. I have multiple of these in the garden, and I hear them at night or whenever it's about to rain. These little frogs love to live in the rhubarb behind and just love all of the foliage in this garden. So it's another reason why I like to slowly tackle these jobs rather than coming through in one day and removing all of the foliage and all of the leaves. That's really going to disturb this ecosystem that I've created in here, which its main purpose was to bring biodiversity close to the house so that I can enjoy all of these beautiful animals. They can work together to manage bugs and just have a really pleasant environment. So after I had just done that little bit of tidying up, I moved over to do the last job of the day, which was just harvesting some calendula seeds. I've really let these go, but I am planning on having some of these up on the website. So hopefully I'll have that up really soon and you can purchase some seeds from my cottage garden. Calendula is a plant that I adore. I really love all of the medicinal properties, and I will always grow it in my garden. So I have an abundance of calendula seeds that I'm harvesting. I'll let these dry for a few weeks and then I'll package them up. So that was all the gardening jobs that I did on that day. We then had a few days of cool and rainy weather, which was absolutely divine. So I left the garden be for a while until I came back a few days later. but it was really nice just to have a bit of rain so it could take the pressure off me watering the garden, and by the looks of it, all the plants really did enjoy that rain. It's a few days later now and I am back out in the cottage garden. I'm going to continue this video and continue just tidying up a little bit in the garden. Today I'm also gardening for my mental health. I have just been so anxious all day for no apparent reason. I don't know, sometimes it just happens where I start comparing myself and worrying about the future and just everything that's going on in the world. Yeah, it really does take a toll on mental health. Luckily, I have a lot to do in the cottage garden, so I will continue sharing what I am doing to tidy up this mess behind me. Particularly going to be working here today just to tidy up a lot of the kind of dead plants, replant, and just trim up a lot of all of the overgrown plants that are in this beautiful garden. I'm going to really be mindful today and just think about what I'm doing, act really slowly, take some deep breaths, listen to the birds that are around. I can hear some bugs and some frogs in the garden, so I'm going to try and ID those and just take it easy this afternoon and really enjoy this little gardening session in the garden. This is also your reminder to just be mindful when you're gardening. Take it slow, really enjoy what you're doing. I have worked so hard in this garden and I've really felt like the gardening jobs lately have been feeling more like chores rather than things that I really want to do and that I'm passionate about. And so I really want to take the time today in the cottage garden to just reconnect and just remember why I love this so much. And it is such a beautiful afternoon. So yeah, I'm actually really excited to get out in the garden and share what I'm doing today. This afternoon, the first job that I was working on was harvesting some linaria seeds. I absolutely adore linaria. It's a plant that I think all cottage gardens need. It's very whimsical and very fairy-like, the flowers, and they self-seed really readily in the garden, usually alongside the pathways, probably where I've just dumped some seed heads, but I really wanted to start saving these seeds so that I can sprinkle them around the garden next autumn and winter because they are a cool season crop. There are thousands of seeds in all of these seed heads, so I only need a few, but this is usually how I will harvest a lot of seeds in the garden. If I'm not harvesting larger seeds like those calendula, I'll just have a paper bag and stick the seed heads in there, ruffle them up a little bit so that all of the seeds are loosened, let it dry, and you can see already all of those black little linaria seeds have fallen down, and there'll be more over the coming days as these seed heads dry. I'll leave this in the garage in a cool, dark place and then be able to sift through and package up these seeds to hopefully be on the website as well. Right now it was back to this patch of the cottage garden that has really become very wild. So today I'm tackling it. Firstly, just removing all of the plants that I don't want in this area. I'm pretty much clearing out a lot of this space to probably plant some tomatoes in here, I think eventually. So I've got a lot of work to do, and I'm just removing some more of that linaria, placing the foliage in the pathways, and it will gradually just break down over time as I step on it, as we walk through the pathways, like I was over the other section of the garden. Being out in the garden on this day honestly really made me feel so much better. As I was saying before, I was just a little bit anxious this day, and like I also mentioned, it really wasn't anything in particular. I think it's just a lot of things that are going on in the world right now that can tend to make anyone feel a little bit anxious, and gardening is one way that I really do use to calm my overall nervous system. This year has been my goal to do that, and I've had some real challenges this year, both physically and mentally, and some battles that I really had to overcome that I haven't really shared about. But yeah, gardening is something that has brought me so much joy and just really calms me down. I don't necessarily love to, break a sweat or anything like that. I like to take it easy and have lots of breaks, which is what I was doing today. But today truly was really satisfying in the garden, and yeah, really helped my mental health. Another job that I worked on was removing this woolly bush here. Unfortunately, I don't think it was the right spot for it. I think I just don't think the soil was well draining enough for it. So I'm going to replace it with a plant that does look a little bit sad. I get that. It is sprouting new growth though. So this is a Melaleuca incana, or a sea mist Melaleuca, and it doesn't mind a little bit more clay soil, which is what we have here. And Melaleucas are a great plant if you do have a little bit more of an environment or soil type that doesn't drain as well. The woolly bush, which used to be one of the Christmas trees last year, really does need that sandy soil to drain a little bit better, and just wasn't suited to this area. So I'm going to replace it with this Melaleuca, and I use these in floral arrangements. You honestly only need like one or two sprigs of this Melaleuca in an arrangement, and it looks absolutely stunning. So I'd highly recommend this plant if you are a flower farmer or have a backyard flower farm. I have really enjoyed using this in arrangements, so hence why I'm planting another one here. I'm just going to prep the soil by adding in a bit of potting mix and also some worm castings to give this plant a little bit of nutrients. Then give it a mulch with sugarcane mulch, and hopefully it grows a lot better than the woolly bush. After that, I'm just prepping this area that I had finished weeding with some cow manure, just to give it a little bit of boost of organic matter and nitrogen. Then I'll cover it with sugarcane mulch, and yeah, I think I'm going to plant tomatoes in this area. Let me know if you have any other suggestions on what I should plant in this area. Yeah, I'm going to have a think about it before I plant anything in here, but probably something like an annual veggie crop I think I'll plant in here. the last few jobs this afternoon, I was just tidying up some of the pathways, removing some of that calendula, and yeah, just giving everything a little bit of a spruce up. To be honest, there's so many more jobs that I could do in this cottage garden, but I wanted to kind of just share the main jobs that I was doing for this video. And I really hope that this video inspired you to get out in your garden and get some jobs done. I listened to some podcasts while I was working, and I really enjoyed just having some me time. This is the way I usually practice self-care, is to zone out a little bit in the garden with a podcast or some music playing. And yeah, it was a really lovely afternoon. Gardening has so many benefits for our mental health and physical health, and I would really encourage you to, if you haven't already, start a little garden, even if it's just a few pots on your balcony, or if you do have an outdoor space, just planting a few herbs or some veggies. It's one of the most rewarding things I've done in my whole life, and I don't think I will ever stop having a garden. Thank you so much for watching this video and watching me tidy up my cottage garden. I would love to know what you're getting up to in your garden at the moment. Please let me know in the comment section down below what you're planting, what you're growing, what you're harvesting, so that we can all just have a little bit of a sticky peek into what you're all doing in your garden and hopefully encourage each other in the comment section. If you'd like to see more, you can check out my Instagram page at The Nature Patch, where I share daily activities of what I get up to in the garden. I also have a Patreon page where I share lots more extra content over there. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you're all having a lovely day wherever you are in the world. And until my next one, happy gardening, everyone. Bye.